And we're live. I'm sorry I'm a bit late. There's a word here I'm trying to pronounce, and it will be a bit hard for me, but I'll try. So today I want to talk about there's a debate going on, mostly on Twitter, but I think I saw it in the Nation yesterday, Nation TV, so perhaps NTV. So I think it's all over. The abortion debate in Kenya, mostly brought about by the fact that Marie Stopes has an abortion Marie Stopes has been an abortion center for a long time, but he started being bold about it the other day, having advertisements, and so that brought up a bit of controversy, and now the advertisements have been banned, right? So there's a bit of debate now developing whether abortion is right or abortion is wrong, and I don't feel that Kenyans, we have the right information, mostly because the information we have has been given to us by people who support it. And I thought that I'd just give an objective view of it, and then I'd give my opinion perhaps at the end of it or as I go through it, right? So bear with me and listen for a while. So I'd like to start with, why do women abort? At the end of the day, it's a woman who aborts because it's her body. So, and she gives consent to it. In other cases, she does not give consent to it, but mostly it's women who abort, not men, right? Because we can't have kids. And here are some of the reasons why women abort. The health of the mother. When the health of the mother is at stake, and there's a choice that has to be made. Either both the mother and the child dies, or the child dies, or the mother dies. And in that case, my personal opinion is that the mother should always survive. And I wanted to give a condition, and here's the pronunciation, bear with me. It's called preeclampsia, PE. It's a disorder of pregnancy where the body, the mother experiences high blood pressure, and then there's a significant amount of protein in the urine. So it affects 2.2 to 8% of pregnancies worldwide. That's a big number because a lot of people get pregnant. A lot of women get pregnant every year. And I wanted to give a story of somebody called Cecily Kellogg. She lives in Philadelphia, not Kenya, but I just wanted to give her a story. She had two twins. She was pregnant with the two twins in 2004. And then she developed this condition, this preeclampsia. And what happened was, one of the fetuses in her died. And then that brought a bit of problems for her body right now, because now her lungs shut down, her kidneys shut down, and she was expected to have seizures, right? And it's a bit sad for her, because now you have a being that has died within you, and then now there's another being who's trying to live, and you yourself, your body is dying. So in such cases, I do not see any situation whereby anybody would say that aborting the surviving fetus would be wrong, because the mother needs to survive, and is in pain, and she tried, right? It's not that she went and did an abortion immediately, as in she tried. She kept it, she tried to see how it would develop, but it kept getting worse. And so she says that it was a horrible experience for her, and they had to abort the other baby, and she calls the other baby my son, right? Now that was in 2004. In 2006, she had a daughter with her husband. So I think people need to understand this fact that you need to save the mother, because they can have another baby. But if the mother goes, then you'll not have the baby might come, but the possibility of having another baby would be difficult, right? So always save the mother in case there's a problem. So that's my opinion. That's one of the reasons women abort. The other one is fear of raising the kid alone. And I want to speak to Kenyan women specifically. 6 out of every 10 Kenyan women are likely to be single mothers by the time they are 45. 6 out of 10 are likely to be single mothers by the time they reach 45 years. And that's a bit sad, and that's a bit scary also, because we live in a patriarchal society where men own most of the wealth. Women, like in agriculture, they do most of the work, but men own most of the wealth. And now imagine that you are 45, you're a single mother, or you're 30, you're a single mother, and then the father is not there. And we live in it's a very dark society, where if you have burdens and you're poor, life would be very difficult for you. So many people abort because of that, because the fear of raising the kid alone. Many women abort because of that. And then there's the fear that society will judge them. Everybody sees you in a certain light. They don't know what you do, and then all of a sudden now you have proof of unprotected sex, a baby. So there is what they just end the baby's life, and then society cannot judge them over that. And then there's always pressure from the father of the child. They usually pressure the women so much. If they want money, the father of that child will provide. If they want a place, if they want a doctor, they're always willing to provide. Mostly because many of them are married, many of the men are married, and they don't want such problems. And many of the men also do not want to long-term commitment with the woman that has the baby. So they pressure them into aborting. Also, again, we need to understand that men pressure women into having sex. Men can also pressure women into having an abortion. So that's something we need to understand. And then there's to escape responsibility, where you feel that you're too young, you feel that life is not yet, you haven't enjoyed, so you choose an abortion, right? And that usually happens a lot. And there's some women that I've heard of that they have a kid, they become pregnant so that they can take money from the father, and blackmail him into giving them some money so that they can have an abortion. So I just wanted to give you a statistics. These are US statistics, right? These are the reasons why women choose an abortion, right? Less than 3% choose an abortion because of a health problem. Less than 3% of women choose abortion because of a health problem. Less than 1% choose an abortion because of rape or incest. So that's 4% of women who choose an abortion because of health and because of rape and incest. And then there's another scary one, which I may touch on perhaps later in future. Unborn children who have possible health complications. 3% of women, they will abort their baby because they believe that those kids will have health complications. So you're condemned even before you are born. That's a bit sad, I think. So anyway, 21% abort because they have inadequate finances to raise a child. 21% because they are not ready for responsibility. 16% because a woman's life would be changed too much. And then problems with the relationship, that's 12%. And as you can see, most of these reasons, they are nothing to do with the child. Nothing at all to do with the child. Not that the child would endanger the mother, or the child would have health complications, or that the child came about because of rape and incest. It's mostly because of these other factors, of the adults involved. Okay, so let me just leave it at that. Okay, so the arguments to... Let me just... These are the reasons I give that why women abort, right? They're the arguments that give people advance to support the idea of abortion. One of them is the Dr. Wairimu case, such that if we don't allow abortion, then we allow more of Dr. Wairimu's, and then women we become endangered, and they die. Another statistic, not endangered, but they are in danger. 7 women die every day from botched abortions in Kenya. That's 7 women every day. Today, as we speak, 7 women die from a botched abortion. And that's a very, very, very sad. And that's one of the reasons people advance to support this idea of abortion. Another reasons they use is that overpopulation. They say that we are too many, and we need to get whole of our population. People need to have fewer children, and one way that we can have fewer people is that to support abortion. Another one is that they say that women have the right to choose. It's their body, so they have the right to choose what happens to their body. And then men have no right to tell a woman what to do. I have been told that many times, and I think I'll be told that as I finish this one. Now I wanted to touch on the Dr. Wairimu case. Okay, are the unsafe health medical conditions, right, at Dr. Wairimu's clinic? Because why do they exist? They exist because we have a system that allows them to exist. How do I put this? If we decide that something is bad, how then do we go on and make it easier for people to do those bad things. We need to have a line, a clear limit, and then we say that if this one is bad, it's bad, and then now we prevent it, as opposed to make it easier for people to do it. It's kind of like a reverse thinking that the world is going to, whereby like in the United States and other areas, what they do is that instead of helping you to overcome your addictions, right, they actually help you to do those addictions. They help you to do drugs safely, right? Which there's some reasoning behind it, but at the end of the day, it does not deal with the situation. And at the end of the day, we have unsafe health practices and unsafe clinics not because the government allows it, right? And if people were to deal with Dr. Irimu well, then he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. And then so that's what I want to say about it. I think I'll touch that in future later. Overpopulation, in 1978, Thomas Malthus said that the world will become, people would end. The world will end. In early 2000s, Al Gore said that New York would be underwater, right? New York is not underwater right now. In 1798, population, the world will become destroyed. Everybody in the world would fit into the state of Texas. Less than 1%, I think less than 0.5%, more than half of the world's population, they live on 1% of the world's land, right? So there's enough land, there is enough for everyone, but not for everyone's greed. Exactly, he exists because of our weak systems. Then another thing I wanted to add, when people say that women have the right to choose, that's okay, it's their body, they have the right to choose. At the same time, if, like your neighbor, think about your neighbor right now. If your neighbor kicks out the child, right? And then it's my house. You wouldn't accept it. She has a responsibility to her child, right? To keep him safe and all that kind of stuff. Again, you might say that that's a bit extreme because now the baby is born and then it's a body, so it's really, really personal. And then now you go to vaccinations. If we risk the entire population because one person will not vaccinate himself, right? Then that person needs to stay far away from everybody else, right? And what you'd realize at the end of it, it's never really your body. We are an interdependent society, and we need to act like it. Okay, so another thing, men have no right to tell a woman what to do. And I find this a bit dangerous because at the end of the day, what can happen is that a man would tell a woman, a man would start cheating, right? And then he can do whatever he wants because the woman has no control over him. And then a man can, use the money for himself, not for his children, not for anything else. And what happens after that? It's his money. He can go drinking. And at the end of this is the problem with this kind of thinking, because it leads to the destruction of the family. Because the woman is thinking about herself, the man is thinking about herself. And I wanted just to add, and this is the importance of having social order, and I wanted to add something about Christianity, right? In the verse that people use that a woman must submit to her man, right? It comes from Ephesians, and it's actually Ephesians 5:22. If you look at Ephesians 5:21, it says before that, be subordinate to one another out of reverence for Christ. So we are supposed to be subordinate to one another. A man is supposed to answer to his wife, and his wife is supposed to answer to the man. That's how you preserve marriages and all that kind of stuff. Again, there's an idea that a woman would bind a man if she chooses to have that baby, but a man cannot bind a woman to have that baby. So there's a kind of like an unfair balance over there. And where the feminists, what they're trying to do is to transfer, they believe that the power belongs to the man, which is true. They're trying to transfer it to the woman, which again is wrong. Follow the Bible, okay, follow whatever, just follow common sense. Be subordinate to one another, right? Just be subordinate to one another. We're a society. Okay, so I wanted to give this. I believe that the arguments for abortion, they don't work. They're not defensible at the end of the day. So I believe that people argue for them because of other reasons, and I call them the reasons why people argue for abortion. Many of them argue because they have aborted, others argue because they would abort. And this is what somebody said. we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So if we would abort, we put ourselves in that woman's shoes, and then we say, yeah, abortion is right, because we would do that at some point in life. And then we would, if we believe that we are too weak to have a child, we would be too weak to have a child at some point in future, then what would happen is that we'd fight for abortion, so that if one day we were ever in that position, it would be legal for us to do it. So I believe that. In the same way, the Kenyatta family cannot admit that Kenyatta stole our land, because if they admit, should be thieves. The same way, those who aborted cannot admit that abortion is wrong, because that would mean that they are murderers, and nobody would accept to be called a murderer. So you have to fight against that. You have to call that fetus a cell. You cannot call it a baby, because it means you killed your own baby. And it also means if you can abort, then it means you can kill a baby. So you can't view it in terms of a baby. I'll touch on that later. Elitism. There are people who like thinking that they are learned now. They are thinking that these religious people, that these people who hold traditional values, they're not learned enough, they're not educated enough, and they need to know these things, that it's just a fetus, we need to control the population, we need to save women from abortions and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so elitism is it's a bit of a problem, because people think that they know and they don't know. Yeah, so let me just add another thing. Education, the lack of information. People don't know a lot of things. They don't know a lot of things, because do women know that, do people know that 94% of the women, this is I think is US statistics, regret their decision to abort? They actually regret their decision. Why do they regret? Something happens when you abort. Something happens. Something leaves you, and it's not just the baby. They regret their decision to abort. I wanted to give a few statistics when it comes to abortion. 2 weeks. Most women discover that they're pregnant after 2 weeks. That's 14 days. And then it's 2 to 3 weeks. Others discover after 21 days. So I wanted to just to give you an idea. As soon as the fetus is formed, the baby has all the markings of a human being. It has all the markings of a human being. You can actually call this is a human. It will lead to a person. It's actually a person, and this one will lead to, you can differentiate it from, let's say, from other species. At conception, you can separate it from other species, because it has everything. They discover after 14 days to 21 days that they are pregnant. So I wanted to give you something. 18 days from conception, the heart begins to beat. So already on the first day, they have the DNA, everything that's there to be a human. On 18 days, they have a heartbeat with their own blood. They have their own blood that's beating. In 28 days, they have eyes, they have ears, and they have a tongue. 28 days, they also have muscles, right? Most women abort, like, let me put it in percentages. 84% of women abort after the first 2 weeks, after the first 6 weeks. That's 84%. So that's after the heart has begun to beat. That's after the ears are formed. That's after the tongue is there. That's after the muscles have started to develop. 84% of them abort after 6 weeks, right? And that's a bit sad, because when a person dies, when the heart stops beating, that's when we say the person DOA'd, died on arrival at what time. So you're killing somebody with a heartbeat. 84%, they already killed the baby after it has a heartbeat. If you discover that you're pregnant after 3 weeks and you decide to have an abortion, then you have killed something with a heartbeat inside of you. If you discover that you're 14 days, after 14 days that you're pregnant, you're killing something with the markings of a baby inside of you. So that's sad. Okay, so I think I'm in the last part. Last part. When it comes to organized support for abortion, we need to understand that abortion is there for specific reasons. People want abortion there for specific reasons. One of them is monetary. Money is very important when it comes to abortion. For example, Planned Parenthood makes $1.3 billion every year because of abortion. And they just don't abort, they actually sell the organs of the aborted babies. They sell the kidneys, they sell the liver. I think the kidneys are most in demand, the liver and the heart. And they actually sell those organs, making additional cash. And that is what we want to bring into Kenya. Because as soon as you start killing that babies en masse, not underground as we're doing right now, as we start killing them en masse, then at a certain point in time, researchers will start asking for those organs, and like Planned Parenthood will start selling those organs to those people, and eventually it will become such a lucrative business that people do not want to let it go. And that's one of the reasons why people don't want to let it go right now, because it's so lucrative, it's so nice, it's so the money is easy, and it's there, and it's always be there because people will always have sex. Then there is population control. I wanted to touch on this one a bit. Planned Parenthood was formed, the idea behind it mostly was to control the black population, right? They wanted to control blacks, their numbers and everything else. And this has happened throughout history. When blacks went to Arabia as slaves, they were castrated to ensure that they don't produce heirs, right? So as black people, we need to take this a bit more carefully than most other races. So at that time, when Planned Parenthood came about, when abortion was allowed in the US, that Roe versus Wade case, and the person, I'll touch on that later, the person upon whom the decision was that abortion should be legal, the person who brought that case to court, she never aborted. She became Catholic, she became anti-abortion, and at the end of the day, she died fighting abortion, because now she realized how bad it was. And she didn't know things like when the baby heart starts beating, when the babies feel pain. People abort babies when they feel pain. Anyway, so blacks thought that, they were less likely to abort at that time when that decision came through. That was in 1973. Right now, blacks abort at, what rate is this? 3 times more often than whites. So the purpose of that abortion came through to control the black population, right? Linguistics is a problem. I'll deal with that slowly. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that today. Again, I wanted to talk about preparation. I usually have 1 hour to prepare, just 1 hour to prepare. And so most of the statistics that I have, they're usually there within an hour. And then I actually go through them as we talk. And other stuff, I just get them from memory. But I thank you for bearing with me. I thank you for the advice and for the laughter and all that stuff. Let us not abort. I think I'll touch on this issue more as I get more statistics, right? As for now, I hope that it is helpful. Have a lovely evening. I'll see you tomorrow, and keep watching. We're doing well on Facebook, and we're doing well on YouTube. So really nice. Take care. Bye bye. And fight abortion whenever you can, wherever